Welcome to Pep Talk with Bridget Kay.
This hour is presented by Mainstay Financial and Annalee Leonard, who is responsible for the information and opinions expressed during the show.
Hi, this is Financial Advisor of the Year, Jim Brogan of Knoxville, Tennessee. You're listening to Winning with my good friend and colleague, Annalee Leonard.
You're listening to Winning with Annalee. Annalee is a retirement and estate planner, a member of the Ed Slott Master Elite IRA Advisor Group, as well as a sought-after speaker on such topics as income planning, 401k rollovers, and advanced IRA reduction strategies. When not working in her private practice, Annalee joins with other certified senior advisors to promote top-quality services to mature adults in the Pensacola area. Her goal is to help you prepare for and live comfortably in retirement. You can reach her office at 437-3127 or online at mainstaypensacola.com. Or call her now at 437-1620 on Winning with Annalee.
That's the truth. Welcome.
Love it.
You got to start off your day thinking of yourself as a winner. You and I were just talking about the fact that Saturday, and all the people of my age group and younger will appreciate this, I had the privilege of seeing Cher. Now, that woman is a winner.
She is a winner through and through.
Oh, man. I mean... did the whole story about all the stuff in her life and how at one point they owed the IRS all this money and then she owed a friend money. And honey, you look at her now. It's like, I mean, 73-year-old woman that didn't miss a note in the 2 hours of her show. Entertaining, funny, just if ever you get the opportunity, go see her. You will not regret the time nor the money that you spend on that. Just a massive crowd, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to be a part of that. So welcome to Winning with Annalee. I'm your host, Annalee Leonard, president of Mainstay Financial, right on the corner of Cervantes and Perry. And our mission, our goal is to help keep you on course financially and to teach you the rules that you've got to know, because there are so many rules out there about all of the different things that you can and you can't do. And gosh, you mess up on them and then you start paying penalties and you pay interest on the penalties, and just make the right decision in the beginning and you avoid all that stuff. And that's what we're here for. So today I'm going to go a little bit off our normal beaten path. I mean, I don't think we have a normal beaten path. I said that and I'm like, no, what is that, a normal beaten path? But, you know, I love to be very holistic in what we do. And I look at all of the things that can harm us as human beings, harm us financially, harm us mentally, spiritually. And one of the things we have to be very, very aware of in today's world, more so than ever before, is defending ourselves. And I mean, that's when you're on the internet, when you answer the phone. I got a phone call last week. I was at home. It's Friday afternoon. I was working, and the phone rings, and I get this person who has this very heavy accent and is telling me they are from Medicare. Now, Medicare's like the IRS. They're not going to call you. Okay, so this woman calls me and gives me this big whole story about, you know, we have got to verify your information. I said, really? You have to verify my information. You're Medicare. You know my information. Well, okay, is this your name? I said, yes, it is. Is this your address? I said, yeah, it is. She said, is this your phone number? I said, well, you just called it. It might be. She says, now I need you to go get your Medicare card because we have to verify the number. So I said to her, all right, you give me the number you have, and I'll tell you if you're right. She says, sneaky. Oh, no, we got to verify your number. You have to go get your card. I said, honey, you called the wrong person. I'm not going to fall for this stuff. I said, you know, and I've got your number now because I've got caller ID, and you're being reported to the Senior Fraud Center. And that's what all of us have to do, okay? Don't give out information. Be careful about what you talk about.
Wow.
But we've got to be physically aware also of what's going on with us. So today, I invited a gentleman by the name of Master Pete Canavan. Pete's been studying martial arts for over 20 years, and I'd just love to have him, in my office for about 3 or 4 days to teach us all kind of stuff. But he's been doing this 20 years, and he's trained hundreds of men, women, children, all ages in self-defense. He's an author. He's an information technology consultant. He's an entrepreneur, owner of LearnSelfDefenseOnline.com. So you might want to look this up, LearnSelfDefenseOnline.com, where he has online membership, and he teaches people things about self-defense, all kind of self-defense books, which I'm going to let him talk to you about. But the thing that I think is important is Pete is teaching us how to take care of ourselves no matter where we are. And Pete, don't let me forget, one of the things I really, really want to talk about is the books that you wrote about college campus safety, because a lot of us have children, grandchildren, great nieces, nephews that are on college campuses, and I know it concerns me as it does a lot of my clients. So please don't let me forget to talk about that. He's also going to talk about weapons and carrying weapons, because, that's such a huge controversy today. Do you have a gun? Do you not have a gun? Should you have a gun? Should you not have a gun? And Pete's an expert on that. So these are the things he's going to talk to us about. So with no further ado, welcome Master Pete Canavan.
Well, thank you very much, Annalee. Glad to be here and hopefully import some good information on your listeners today.
Well, you and I had a conversation, as I always do before I invite someone onto the show, and I found the things that you had to say so enlightening. And, I worry about my clients. I worry about their money, of course. That's my job. But I worry about them living alone sometime. I worry about them going places by themselves, because I think, number one, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it seems that women are more vulnerable, and the older you are, I believe, the more vulnerable target you become. Do you think that's correct?
From a physical sense, I would say that's probably true, but as you just really mentioned there at the beginning of the show, these scams exist for people that can threaten your safety and your security and your identity from phone calls like, this bogus call you got from Medicare. And personally, what my uncle does, and I love it because I've adopted what he does, is when somebody calls and says, I need to find out about what's going on here. I say, you need to? What's the matter? What's going on?
Yeah.
Or do you just want to know?
Yeah.
And it throws them for a loop,
Oh, it does.
But
it does.
It is, there are a lot of things that we need to be concerned with today, and so many of these things didn't exist even just 10 years ago. And that is a big problem for many people who may not even be aware that some of these issues exist. And what I always tell my clients and my students is the very first thing you've got to do is define your own concerns. What is it that you're concerned with? Where you are, what do you do, when you're online, what sites you're going to, when you're offline, where are you traveling to? What are some of the concerns that you may have that could be an issue for you? And so when you start to define those, it starts to really make things a little bit more clear and allows you to sort of zone in on the things that you should worry about or be concerned with.
Could you give me an example of what you're talking about, Pete? So that everybody's kind of got a clear picture in their mind of where you're going.
Sure. Like, for example, I'm writing an article for a column for an event magazine right now, and I'm doing the article on event safety. And so what I've done is I've taken it as kind of like a day in the life sort of thing, where, okay, you get up, You get in your car, you leave your house, you go to the airport before you go to the hotel, before you go to the event, and you come back. And I talk about all the different things that could happen to you during that time. For example, you pull into a gas station to put gas in your car. How do you know if there is a skimming device attached to that gas pump? Are you familiar with what to look for? If you're not, maybe you should take 5 or 10 minutes and go online and do a little reading about how do I recognize whether or not there's a card skimming device attached to a gas pump. And I talk about how, then you stop at the coffee shop. You go to Dunkin' Donuts or something, and you decide while you're standing in line to jump on their free Wi-Fi to check your email. Well, there's another big no-no. You're jumping on a free Wi-Fi network. You shouldn't do anything where you're, sending passwords, because there could be somebody sitting in the back of the Dunkin' Donuts there with a laptop just waiting for people to jump on, and now they're skimming all the data that you're sending through the free Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So there's so many things that many people don't think about, because we just, we get stuck in these routines, and that's something else that's a big problem that I talk about, as you mentioned, like the college safety book. But in general, we all have routines and comfort zones. And so when we're doing the same thing every day, we go to the same store, we go to the same bank, we go to the same school, we go to the same gym, we walk our dog down the same street, etc. These are all routines that we do. And when you do something over and over and over again, you expect things to be the same day after day after day.
Exactly.
But they may not be.
Yeah, and that's what we've got to be watching for, is what out there can be different. And I think that's something we all fall into. It's like we're so accustomed to checking our email, to doing online banking, that I think people just don't think about it, especially now with our phones that we carry around. And, you can do anything you want now that it used to be you had to be tied to the desk to do. And I guess we just become careless in our complacency. I mean, could we say that?
That is the key word, complacency.
Yeah.
People get complacent. And when you get complacent, you get really, you're not paying attention. You're very comfortable. And so when we become comfortable, we really drop our guard. Like I said, I mean, if you're walking your dog down the same street every night, why would you think tomorrow night's going to be different than tonight? Because it was the same as last night. Well, it may be the same, but it may not. And so that means that you still need to keep your guard up. You still need to be aware of the surroundings. You still need to be aware of, somebody who may be, walking down the street in the opposite direction from you that you don't recognize. It's not one of your neighbors. You don't know who they are. So it's just little things. And, technology distracts us from many of these things.
Yes.
Whether it's our face buried in our phone, checking our email, or looking at social media, or even just listening to music, too loud, where you're unable to hear things that are going on around you, whether it's a car alarm or a scream or a gunshot or anything, really.
Right. And I always worry about that when I see people running with the earphones on. It's like, first of all, you don't hear my car coming up behind you, and if you don't hear a car coming up behind you, you're not going to hear a person coming up behind you. And that's scary. That's very scary. And I know people do it to get in a as such zone while they're running, whatever that status is. But again, I think it's because they're complacent. They think, oh, I'm in my neighborhood, I'm running, I'm doing whatever. But not everybody that's there belongs there. And I think we have to think about those things. And back to the computer aspect, think before you use it. So Pete, is that what you kind of refer to as the warrior mindset? Because the warrior is always on guard.
Well, the warrior mindset is something a little different.
Okay.
That is a mindset that is akin to, for example, the warriors of ancient Japan, the samurai. Okay, they would be given a mission, and they would carry out that mission without question, regardless of whether or not they would be killed in the process. It was a decision that they made in their mind, where they would attempt to or be able to complete whatever task was set out in front of them, regardless of any obstacles that were in their way. They would go over, under, around, or through anything that stood in their way or die trying. And so the warrior mindset is kind of the same thing, but it's something that we can apply to every different aspect of our lives, whether it's our personal life, our professional life, our relationships, etc. And all it is when we are faced with a challenge, as we all are every single day, we can look at that challenge one of two ways. We can look at it and say, okay, here's a challenge in front of me. How am I going to remove this obstacle? How am I going to get around this obstacle? How am I going to make this a non-issue? What do I have to do? And we look for ways around it, come hell or high water. If we have the other mindset of, oh, there's an obstacle in my way, I don't quite know what to do, I'm just going to give up, well, we can't approach life that way. No. And so the warrior mindset simply means you are someone who is willing to go do whatever it takes to get to the end result, whatever that goal happens to be. And in a self-defense situation, in a survival situation, what that means is you've got to flip a switch in your brain that says, you know what, it's going to be me that goes home tonight to my family, my kids, my spouse, and not this other person. And so you have to think about that from the context of, you know, for example, a self-defense situation. And if you've never thought about it, when, God forbid, something were to occur, you're going to be very ill-equipped to be prepared for that. You're going to be flustered. You're not going to know what to do. And if you've never thought about that sort of thing, it's going to be a big problem. So I tell people you have to get it through your head, through your mind, that when you're faced with something, you've got to eliminate any fear. And that's a very, very difficult thing for people to do because we're afraid of getting hurt or killed or whatever when we may be faced with something that is very dangerous to our physical health. And when you try to eliminate that fear, it is sort of it's very empowering, and it's also liberating because it allows you to make decisions that are not based on fear, and that allows you to get to where you need to go.
You know, I find that with a lot of people in our industry because some of the testing we have to take to get the licenses we take, absolutely daunting. And then when you look at the statistics that like 60-70% of the people that take those tests fail the first time, a lot of people look at it and say, oh man, I can't do this. I can't do it because, you know, I'm already working a job and I'm doing this and I just can't do it. I know when I got my first securities license, it was a nightmare. I mean, because I was traveling all the way from here to Port St. Joe, visiting teachers on a daily basis, on the road 5 hours a day, visiting people 5 hours a day, grueling schedule. And during all that, I'm studying. And I made up my mind. I said, you know, the first time I take this test, I am going to pass this test because I am not going through this again. And I did. Walked in and passed that bugger, honey, because I wired my brain. And you know, the odds were so against me. But I said, nope, not going to happen. Because I'm not going through this again. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it right. You know, and that's why I think today I really have a hard time when people give me excuses. You know, I can't do this because I can't do that because it's like, you know, I want to just kind of say, grow up.
Well, they're looking for the easy way out.
Well,
they look for that easy way out, like, well, everybody else failed, so, you know, I'm probably going to fail. But that's the wrong attitude. You know, you had the right attitude. And that's my point with the warrior mindset, is it doesn't have to just apply to a physical self-defense situation. It should apply to every aspect of your life once you understand what it is.
Yeah. And I think I like that, what you just said, apply to every aspect. I mean, you know, you hear so many people will say, oh, I just can't lose weight. Oh, I just can't get into an exercise schedule. Well, first of all, if you're talking that way, you're telling your brain that you can't. But if you tell your brain that you can, and you make every effort to do that, you're going to see a very different result because after a while it becomes routine to say, okay, I got the dessert, I'll eat 1 or 2 bites of it, and I'm done with it. I can go out to a nice restaurant and have a very nice meal, but I don't have to consume that mound of food that they bring to me. That could become 3 days worth of lunches if I have a little discipline, you know. So
Sure.
I get where you're going with this, and I think it's extremely important, and bring it to the money aspect, because people will very often say to me, oh, I just can't save any money. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
And unfortunately, people end up programming themselves the wrong way.
Exactly.
You know, self-talk is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And if you continue to tell yourself you can't do something, guess what? You're not going to
be able to do it. You're not going to be able to.
So you have to flip that around and have some powerful, you know, positive affirmations and reprogram your brain. And eventually you will make it become a reality, whatever it is that you're shooting towards.
Yeah. I used to tell my teachers that, and, you know, unfortunately, and this is one of the things I get on a big bandwagon about, I don't think our teachers are paid near what they should be paid for what they do and the contribution to society. But I used to go out and I'd tell the teachers, I said, all right, listen what we're going to do. We're going to save $25 a paycheck. Now, if you're doing that into a tax-sheltered annuity, you're actually only putting about 15 of your own money because you've saved money on taxes. Well, by the time they got that concept, they said, I can save that much money. And then say, all right, in 6 months, we're going to raise it to $30. And then we're going to go to $35. And because of doing that, I had teachers, by the time they got to retirement, they were putting the maximum they could put into that 403B. Now, if I had told them from the beginning that was our methodology, they immediately would have thrown up their hands and said, I can't do it. But if you learn and you put yourself into it, after a while, it's just a natural thing. And you know, and I know, you got to have money set aside. I mean, you don't want to live on Social Security the rest of your life. You've got to do some things for yourself and get the mindset in an aspect where you say, yeah, I know what I can do. So you've been...
Well, your mind is the most powerful thing. I mean, it is the most powerful weapon in the universe. It's the most powerful tool in the universe. It's the most powerful thing in the universe, you know? Everything that's ever been, anything that's ever been done has all started with a thought and an idea in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
You know, an airplane didn't just appear. An iPod didn't just appear. A computer didn't just appear. A book didn't just appear. All of these things began as a thought in somebody's mind.
Exactly.
And they made a decision to follow through on that idea or that thought.
And that's the only way we can ever get there. And I love what you're saying, you know, the step at a time, and that gets you where you're going. So I like that idea of the warrior mindset with the samurai. Have your mission, and you go out and you do that mission. How did you get started in all this?
Well, in the martial arts, I started as a young child, you know, maybe 10 years old or so, and I took some classes for a little bit, but then I got away from it, and, you know, we moved, and I didn't get back into it until my mid-20s. And funny story is I was looking for collection services for my computer company to go after a client that owed me money, and I walked into a collection agency, and I'm talking to the guy, and he's like, hold on a minute, I got to open up my school in the back. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm a martial arts teacher. I'm like, oh, isn't that convenient? You're a collection agent? Yeah. And so we ended up just, you know, I went back, I checked it out. I was like, wow, this is great. I live nearby, and I signed up, and I've been there for over 20 years now, you know, training several days a week and teaching seminars and regular classes, and I have some private clients, and I just love it because it really grounds you. You know, everybody needs something that they can do that takes their mind off of life, you know, something. And that's what martial arts does. I mean, you have the physical benefit, obviously, and you're learning a skill, but it's also really good for your mental state. It's good for your emotional state. It's good for your spiritual state.
For everything.
And I'll do it till the day I die. I mean, I love it. And I think everybody should learn some sort of self-defense.
Well, I think they should, too.
You know, don't have the time or the energy or the money to be able to do that. And so one of the things that I do is I teach people how to protect themselves, what I say, in minutes, not months.
Yeah.
And one of the things
if you'll hold on, Pete, I want to go back to that and start with that, because right now
Sure.
we are going to go and find out what's going on in the world, and I'm just absolutely positive today there's going to be some good news, right?
You're really that sure?
Yeah, positively for sure.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win.
Get ourselves in the winning mood. I love it.
It always puts you in a good mood.
Oh, it
when
does.
you're winning.
It does. And I have to always remember to get off the table in time to get back on the mic. So, welcome back to Winning with Annalee. I'm your host, Annalee Leonard, president of Mainstay Financial Group, right on the corner of Cervantes and Perry. We were talking at break how much we are enjoying our guest today, Master Pete Canavan, who is a master of martial arts, also a technology consultant. He's an entrepreneur, owner of LearnSelfDefenseOnline.com. Now, that to me is just fantastic. I'm going to go on his site because there are things I want to learn. And like a lot of us, once you get to a certain age, you've had physical occurrences that have happened. You know, like I had that really bad broken leg, and it's still got all this hardware in it. So I can't do all the things I want to do. But if I watch this, I bet you I could learn a whole lot of stuff where I could just really take care of myself, buddy. I mean, I got to have that warrior mindset that we're talking about. I love it. I love it. And then let's go, Pete, down to the thing that you also talk about being armed with awareness. And I think we've kind of touched on that. But let's kind of go back to that, having that mindset of you're going to get things done, but at the same time having that being armed with awareness at all times.
Armed with awareness is something that I came up with because, you know, we all talk about how different ways to protect ourselves, and, you know, you can have some sort of self-defense, weapon or device on you, which we'll get into in a minute. But those are all things that can be taken away from you. Mm-hmm. Your awareness is something that if you're armed with awareness, it's something that you've always got with you. It can't be taken away. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, you know, same thing as, you know, what the military teaches, you know, in terms of your being aware of your surroundings and knowing what's around. And it really comes down to three things: being aware of the people that are around you, being aware of the place that you're at in terms of the physical location, where the entrance is, where the exits, mm-hmm. how's the building laid out, et cetera, and the objects around you. Because the objects around you, it makes a lot of sense to be able to recognize something that could be used as an improvised weapon should you need it to be. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's a book or a cell phone or a computer keyboard or a mop handle or a fire extinguisher, or, you know what I mean? There are so mm-hmm. many things that if you look at them with a fresh set of eyes, you could find some very interesting uses in a self-defense aspect for things that you may never have thought of before, especially like in a woman's purse.
Yes.
You know, look in your purse and just look through there and think of all the things that you may have that could use to protect yourself. You know,
honey,
you got perfume.
I could just hit it with my purse.
You wouldn't think that perfume is something that could, you know, hurt somebody, but you could spray in their eyes and blind them.
Yeah. So just being aware, what do you have, what could be used, and let's kind of touch on that. You touched on it lightly just now because, you know, this is such a big controversy out there in the world. Should we not carry some type of self-defense weapon? I mean, and should that be a gun? Should it be something else? My fear with that is that I think there are too many people walking around with things that they don't know how to use, and it could be more of a detriment.
Well, everyday carry items for personal safety are basically classified as things that are passive devices, things that are active devices, and things that are distance devices. Now, a distance item is obviously something like a gun where you're shooting a bullet at somebody, but it also includes things like pepper spray. It includes things like tactical flashlights, because these are things that don't involve you having to actually touch somebody, at least initially. So these are things that keep a person at bay. If you have a strong flashlight with a strobe function and you shine that blinking light into an attacker's eyes when they're 20 feet away from you, they're going to have a hard time seeing, which means they're going to have a hard time getting to you. And if you've got that flashlight and they're blind and they can't see, now you take out your pepper spray in the eyes, and now you get your little 1-2 punch there. You blind them, and then you really blind them.
Yeah.
So there are other, passive items. These involve things like personal safety alarms, emergency whistles, and I don't know if you know how loud those little personal safety alarms are, but they're super cheap and they're super loud. They're like 120, 130 decibels of sound. And when that thing goes off, it's absolutely deafening and it's debilitating. And then, of course, you have your active items, which are things like, knives and guns and other things that are more of a close quarters sort of weapon, like a Kubaton or something like that, which is nothing more than about a 6 or 7 inch bar of metal that can be used to increase your striking power as well as your ability to use it as a leverage weapon against like somebody's wrist or something like that. So there are lots of different things that can be used, and I highly recommend that everybody carries something. Obviously, not everybody's going to be comfortable carrying a gun, and of course, if you are, you better make sure you have proper training and know when you can actually use it, and then how to use it properly. But pepper spray is something that's legal in all 50 states. It's causes temporary blindness and pain, and causes panic and breathing problems to the person that you're spraying it against. So, I mean, that's a huge one that I think a lot of people have. I mean, that's one reason why police carry it, because it's a great non-lethal way. You've got stun guns. Those are something else, like taser type things. In fact, one of my favorites I keep in my car, my wife's car, is a flashlight, and when you click it an extra click up, it becomes a taser.
Oh, wow.
So it's a flashlight with a strobe, and if they still get close enough, you do one extra little click with it and zap them. So there are, of course, the whole debate about guns. That's really, I mean, we could do a whole show on that, but
sure.
I mean, I'm somebody who's been professionally trained as a lethal weapons expert by the state of Pennsylvania. So in theory, I could be hired by somebody that wants to hire me for armed security or something like that. That's not why I did it. I did it because I wanted to get additional training so I'd be more comfortable and learn more. Because I'm somebody who's a concealed carry holder. I carry all the time in Pennsylvania. Why? Because the bad guys do too.
Yeah. And I think you're hitting on something very important, that if you're going to take that step and you are going to carry a weapon of that type, make sure you get trained. Don't just go buy something and put it in your car, put it in your purse, because you could wind up causing a lot more harm than good. So if that is your decision, go out and get trained. And I think it's the same with all the things that you're talking about, Pete. If you go get the pepper spray, if you go get whatever it is, learn how to properly use it. Don't just go buy stuff.
Right, because that's when it could be taken away from you or used against you. Like a lot of people, they think pepper spray, I just spray them in the eyes. Well, okay, how do you spray it? You spray it up and down, you spray it side to side.
Yeah,
you spray it side to side.
And how close?
Why? Because you get it in their eyes.
Yeah.
And if they're wearing glasses, you hit them in the forehead. That way it drips into their eyes. There's little tips like that if you don't know them, you're not going to know how to effectively use a device.
So, and
of course, firearms are huge for training. You've got to be trained. It scares the heck out of me when, I find out that somebody went and got a concealed carry license and then they never even took the thing to the range. They just load it and put it in, like you said, put it in their purse or something. They're like, well, if I need it, I'll just take it out and shoot it. Oh, really?
No.
You really think you're going to be effective?
No. You know, it's like, there's the barn. Oops, I did not hit it. I wonder why. Yeah, you got to have some training. And I'm amazed listening to the terminologies you're using, because you're talking about defensive, passive, active, tactical type things. Those are the same exact terminologies that we use in the financial world of how people invest their money. And, you know, you've got to think about it. It's the same thing. Yeah, anybody can go out and invest their own money, but it takes some training to know how to do this stuff correctly and have a whole team of people behind you that work with you on doing that. So I just think that's amazing how we use the same terminologies, and what we're trying to do. You're teaching people to defend themselves physically. I'm teaching people how to defend themselves monetarily. And
right.
One's just as important as the other, doggone, you know? So,
sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think to just kind of synopsize what we just said is don't go out and get stuff and think that you're protecting yourself if you don't know how to use it, if you haven't been trained.
Right, and get something that you're comfortable with. You know, not everybody's comfortable carrying a pocket knife or carrying a gun, which is fine.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of alternative devices that you may not even know exist. How many people know what a monkey fist is? You know what a monkey fist is?
That's those little guys that swing in the trees in Africa, and they have their little hands. And no, that's not it.
An original monkey's fist was actually a knot used by ancient mariners and sailors, and basically they tied it at the end of a rope, and it made the rope easier to throw. So what they ended up doing was taking it and miniaturizing it and using it when they would get into fights. And it's basically like a little ball bearing about a half an inch in diameter that's wrapped in cord. So it's a really hard thing that you can whack somebody with, and man, is it going to hurt.
I bet.
But it's a teeny tiny little thing. You know, you put it on your keychain and you forget about it. You know, it's easy to swing. You can swing and hit somebody in the hand, in the arm, in the head, wherever you got to do it. But again, there are so many little things. I have a free report anybody can go download that analyzes about 20 different everyday carry items. They could pull it right off a website if you want me to give it out there.
Yes, please.
It's just go to free, E, D as in Delta, C as in Charlie, report.com. That's for free everyday carry report.
Wonderful. Yeah, everybody should go look at that.
Report. Yeah, and it's got about 20 things on there. So it talks about, you know, sap caps and brushes that have hidden knives in them, and, you know, all kinds of stuff that people may or may not be aware of, but simply being educated on some of the things that exist, you may find something and go, oh, this would be perfect for me. You know, it's there when I need it, and the rest of the time I forget about it. Even a personal safety application on your cell phone. Everybody should have one of those. Right. They have apps for cell phones. If you pre-program with a list of contacts, you run into a problem, you push a button, boom, the app activates, the mics go off, the cameras go off, they start streaming video and audio to a set of contacts so people know where you are. Send your GPS location. Great device. Super simple. A lot of people don't even know they exist. No. And I think that's the thing. We get complacent about these kinds of things. It goes back to what we were talking about, being armed with awareness. And I think we could add in there armed with education, because if we don't educate ourselves as to what's available, and I think it's like you said, you got to fit it according to you. I mean, I'm not right at 5'3". I'd like to say I'm 5'3.5" when I'm getting real sassy, but actually I'm 5'3". Not a very big woman. So for me to carry around some big, heavy gun would be, first of all, so cumbersome. And then could I even pick it up and pull the trigger? Well, I don't know. You know, so for me, that would be kind of ridiculous. So it's up to me to educate myself on what would suit my physique and my mindset, because I'm a very, very non-violent human being. You know, I have problems watching stuff on TV. I turn away from it. You know, so I'd have to have something where I probably could say, yeah, I could hurt somebody, but I don't want to
maim them or destroy them. I guess if I got mad enough and my own life was in danger, I could, but,
Well, and that's where the warrior mindset comes in.
Yeah.
Because if you were approached on the street and maybe somebody did ask you for your purse and you gave it to them and they still didn't go away, and now they're coming at you, now you've got to flip that switch and become that warrior, become that tigress, become that unstoppable force that is willing to do whatever is necessary to survive.
Gotcha.
And that's a big, big step that a lot of people never think about, and they're very uncomfortable with.
So I'm going to have to stand in front of the mirror every morning and say, all right, I can do it. Make a really mean face and just rev myself up. I'm going to need to get into that. So while we're talking about that, and in fact, like I said, I'm not a very big person. All of us in our office are not big people. So what about training for women's self-defense? Is that different than the general self-defenses that people train for?
The basics are going to be the same in terms of knowing the proper way to strike, knowing the proper way to block, and knowing the proper targets to hit. So from that standpoint, I would say it's the same. Now, the difference comes in where, a woman, I'm going to say, today you got to watch what you say about everything, but typically a woman is someone who is more worried about being sexually assaulted. And so that, has to weigh into the equation. And so for women's self-defense, we really train on with that in mind, that, you're trying to most likely protect yourself from potentially a robbery, but also from some sort of forced sexual assault. And so you need to target those areas of an attacker's body that are going to be most susceptible to injury that would allow you to escape. Obviously, everybody knows the groin, but what about the eyes? What about the throat? What about the knees? I teach follow the center line of the body. So, it's eyes, nose, throat, solar plexus, groin, knees. Those are pretty much where you want to target, because a straight front kick right to somebody's knee, right in the front of the knee, only takes 10, 15, maybe 20 pounds of pressure, and you can dislocate a kneecap. Well, if you dislocate a kneecap, guess what? That person's going to fall to the ground, and now you can run away. They're not going to run after you with a dislocated knee.
No.
Okay?
No.
But if you don't think about it and you don't know that, you won't know that that's an option for you.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, and sometimes just knowing where to aim as such can make a big difference. I mean, because you hit some big old dude in his upper arm, that's not going to stop him. I mean,
or punching him in the throat, or gouging your nails into the throat. Like, for example, if you take your finger and you just put it right at the top of where your breastbone is and push in, there's a little hollow right there. I don't care how big and strong a guy is, or a girl for that matter, you can't build that area up. Now, if you got fingernails and you dig it into there, I don't care who they are, they're going to let go, because they're not going to be able to breathe. It's going to hurt. And so little, things about, where are the sensitive areas of a body, pressure points. My self-defense survival guide book, I have charts in the back of the book that show strike zones and pressure points that you should focus on when you need to strike somebody.
This is so interesting, Pete, and we have things that we haven't yet hit on. Could I possibly talk you into coming back with me next week?
Of course. I know we wanted to touch on some online safety stuff as well.
Yes, and I want to talk more about your books and how people can get them and how they can learn more from you, because there are just so many different aspects of what you have to say. And I can tell, and I knew that the first time I talked to you, you're just like I am. You have a great, great passion about what you do. It's not that it's a job. It's a mission. It's a passion that has become your livelihood, and I admire that and enjoy that in speaking with you. So if we could have you back on next week, we'll go more in depth, but I want to remind everybody, if you want to check on some things about Pete, go to learnselfdefenseonline.com and look up his site, see if you want to become part of his online membership. I think we can all learn a lot. So, Pete, I'm going to thank you for today, and we will see you again. Well, we'll talk to you again next week, okay?
Sure, I appreciate it. My personal site's got everything on me, so if anybody's interested in knowing a little bit more about me or, my speaking engagements and articles and stuff like that, it's just my name, PeteCanavan.com.
Wonderful.
Canavan.
And we'll have all that
great.
on,
We'll look forward
on
to
the website.
seeing you, talking more with you next week.
We'll do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pete.
Thank you. All right, want to talk to you about some of the things that are coming up for us at Mainstay. And it's February, so we have to start talking about our women's event that we have every year. And yes, we are going to have it this year, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. On the 11th of this month, we are going to have Medicare Made Easy, presented by Dr. Joan Connell at Coastal Alabama Community College. It'll be one evening, 5:30 to 7:30, and that's going to be on the Fairhope campus, Coastal Alabama, Medicare Made Easy, the Fairhope campus. If you want to get registered, because you must register, call 251-990-0444. Then on the 13th, I'm going to be doing retirement income planning, mistakes to avoid. On the 13th, I'll be doing that at Providence Hospital in Mobile from 10 to 11:30. And then on the 19th, I'll be doing the same topic, retirement income planning, mistakes to avoid. I'll be doing that at Sacred Heart Hospital in their cancer center from 9:30 to 11. Now, you can register for either of those by calling 416-1620. The 14th and 21st, 2 Thursdays in a row, I will be at the Coastal Alabama Community College in Gulf Shores doing financial survival for retirement. That's 5:30 to 7:30. It is a 4-hour class. You can call our office to get registered, or you can call 251-968-3104. Now, I feel like I need a drum roll because the big event of the year is coming up on April 27th from 9 to noon. We will do the 6th, yes, ladies, the 6th annual Day for Women by Women. We will be doing the presentation for the Power of E3. We're going to do it a little differently this year, according to some requests we got at meetings. We're going to do a brunch. We're going to start at 9. We'll finish around 12:30. Some of you asked for a shorter day. We're going to try that. We're going to see how it goes. You can call at my office, 437-3127, to get registered, or you can go to the website, powerofE3.com, and the 3 is the numeral 3, Power of E, the numeral 3.com. You'll see about this year, the cost. We've lowered the cost. You'll find out about our speaker, and we're going to be talking about this a lot over the next few months. So we really want to fill up the room this time. Want you to think about the things you heard today. Go and look at Pete's site. If we can be of any help to you, call my office, 437-3127. We'll set up an appointment with you. That's at no cost to you. Let's find out if we can help you get through things. So what I want you to do is please go out, do something good for somebody. Say please. Say thank you. Be aware. Have that samurai mindset, but at the same time, be polite, okay? And really, truly make it a wonderful world. I think it is. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, Annalee. You've been listening to News Radio 92.3 AM 1620.